Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, playfastfootball.blogspot.com. First of all, I just want to let everybody know I've got, hopefully sometime in the next couple weeks, I've got a split field coverage ebook or iBook. I'm currently in the process. The book is completely written. I'm in the process now of trying to figure out whether I want to add film to it and go with an iBook, or if we just make it a standard ebook. So you can look for that in the next couple weeks. I'm working on playbooks right now. I've been getting a lot of messages and emails from guys asking for playbooks. I don't teach with a playbook. I normally don't use a playbook. All right, but I'm starting to get a lot of guys asking for different offensive and defensive things. So hopefully we're going to have a playbook out. What we're trying to do right now is I'm in the process of making the site a little bit more professional, and I'm in the process of possibly maybe switching from the videos on YouTube to having a site that can hold the videos on the site, and then having some playbooks and any other ebooks I may come out with, all on one site where you can access all those things, and then probably having to go to some type of year-long subscription fee or something to where I have all the content there where people can access the content and they can get videos and playbooks and all the things that they want from that one generic site, which means I'd have to, we're going to have to kind of change how we've been doing things. But as of right now, until I get that sorted out, we're going to roll the same way. So we're going to keep doing YouTube videos with blogs, and then eventually we're going to try and get a little bit more professional with the site to where I'm still writing the blogs, but you can only see the written blog. And if you're a member or a subscriber, then you have access to all the videos and access to the the ability to not only look at the videos, but any playbooks or anything that I may come up with. You have access to purchase those and do that, as you would like to do that. So today what we're going to do, we're going to talk about, we've been talking recently, or more and more on the offensive side of the ball, about run-pass options, RPOs. All right, and I think I did 2 or 3 blogs ago on offense. I did one talking about RPOs, run-pass options, and conflict defenders. I did another one on conflict defenders. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and forth kind of between offense and defense, and I'm going to talk about what I kind of look at as the RPO chess match. And what I mean by that is, what are the RPOs causing defenses to do based on what the offense is trying to do. So this is not going to be per se drawing up all the grand run-pass option plays that are out there. I'm going to keep it real simple with what the run-pass options are. But what I'm going to do is then go through the chess match of how teams want to defend and what you would need to do, all right, in order to fight that chess match on both sides of the ball. Okay, so we're going to start right now with a standard 2x2 formation, all right, and I'm going to keep most of the blog today. We're going to stay in 2x2 for argument's sake to keep things simple. We're going to start with a simple 2x2 formation, and we're going to start in a 2-high structure. Okay? So, when a defense is in a 2-high structure, all right, generally speaking, they feel like they want to be able to defend your 4 stand-ups or your 4 quicks with their 4 stand-ups or their 4 quicks. They want to give you middle of the field open with 2 hash mark safeties so they can defend 4 verticals once they see 4 wideouts. Okay, that's going to be the big one all the time. Defenses like to keep the ball in front and inside, all right? And 4 verticals can get you in a hurry, and that's not in front and inside, so they want to defend 4 verticals. In order to stay with a 2-high structure, they're going to have to count heavily on their apex or removed, all right, linebackers, safeties, whoever they may be. They're going to have to fold in, especially to the side of the open B gap. They're going to have to fold in to play the run, all right, in order for them to get away from a 5-man box principle. If you eliminate the overhangs and it's a 5-man box, the offense has 5 blockers for 5 defenders, never a good situation. So the defense always wants to gain a number. So by playing a 2-high structure, they're really asking this to be a 7-man box. Okay? So what the offense is going to do is the offense is going to take advantage of the fold player, and they're going to put the conflict on the fold player. So we'll start simply right now, all right, just with a simple, straightforward, okay, inside zone or veer scheme, locking the backside tackle, okay, and running some type of pass route back here that takes advantage of the hook zone that will linebacker would be playing in coverage. Okay, so, all right, for argument's sake, I'm going to draw it a little different maybe than most people run it, because I want to draw it up the way I think offensively you can get the most space, and I think you can get keep guys occupied. So what I would do is I would try and maybe take one, all right, to the snag here, and take two behind it on the wheel. And the reason I say that is because I think in the two high structure, the wheel can occupy the corner and keep him off the number one, okay? And two releasing outside, I think is going to occupy this safety a little bit more, so he can't just jam down hard in this coverage with two high. He can't just jam down hard on the snag, okay? So we got the snag here, the wheel here. We're putting all the pressure, all right now on the wheel linebacker to see if he folds in the box or if he sits where he is. All right, so that we can tell our quarterback, listen, if he stays where he is, hit the inside zone. If he folds in the box, throw the snag route. Okay, now, for argument's sake, all things being equal, everybody gets blocked up front, okay? The will linebacker in this coverage cannot make a right choice. If the quarterback reads it correctly 80 to 90% of the time, and again, all things being equal, there's no fumbles on the exchange. All the snaps are good. The guys up front are blocked. We can pitch and catch this football. We're talking about numbers, space, logical examples right now, okay? To where, again, if these were equal, and this guy folds in the box, we can pull the ball, throw it to him, and complete it. All right? So that defensively, we have a little bit of an issue now asking these guys to do what we want them to do. Okay? So, the chess match starts to occur now. We're an RPO or a run-pass option team. They're two high safeties, and they're staying in that structure of coverage. All right? All things considered, if we execute, we should be able to throw off the overhang player. All right? Let's say, for argument's sake, we can complete that ball 70 to 80% of the time. That, in theory, is going to create a problem in the defensive structure. Okay? Where now the chess match occurs. So now defensively, how are we going to handle that? Okay? So now you look at it defensively and you say, okay, well, let's try and get us another guy in the box. All right? Let's try and get us another guy in the box. All right? And let's try and get two guys down. All right? Let's try and get two guys down over the slots now. Okay? Get another guy in the box that really doesn't have, all right? He doesn't have this hook curl, all right? He's more of a hook defender. He doesn't have to widen, all right, as far out into that zone, all right, that we would kind of, where we're throwing that snag or that hitch. It's really somewhere almost in between the hook and the curl, okay? So now you're going to take this and say, hey, we're going to take a guy that's dropped down, all right, and we're going to try and say that he can defend that area a little bit better, all right, while the guy in the box doesn't really have as much of a run-pass conflict, okay? Now we've gone to a one-high structure. So right away, offensively, we've got the defense into a one-high structure, okay? So we've got the defense to play one-high, which now opens up, all right, the threat possibly of four verticals, okay? So we've got the defense to change their structure. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're a pattern matching 3-deep team, so that you're asking your drop-down guys or your apex guys, you're asking them to play outside leverage on the number 2 because they have to carry number 2 vertical, and their help is in the middle, so they want to carry 2 outside and low because their help is inside and high. Okay? All right, so now technically speaking, just through where everybody is on the field, if we were to run the same concept, okay, if we were to run the same concept, all right, if they were a pattern matching team, their corner would be much tighter down on one, and when you got the wheel action, the corner would actually probably be squeezing on one if the safety ran with the wheel. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's a pattern match, and the safety's got to play and match 2 out. Okay? So you take the strong safety, all right, and he's matching 2 out. Well, if they're playing that kind of defense, that means their corner is going to be a little bit tighter down to be able to play 1. All right? So now that we've got a pattern read, pattern match with 2 drop-down defenders on that side, there's going to be much tighter coverage, okay, much tighter coverage on the snag receiver than there was when it was a 2-high structure. Okay? So now technically, this will linebacker that we'd like to read, he really has nowhere to go in the passing game. All right? He has nowhere to go in the passing game for us to occupy or for us to open up the snag all right, snag, hitch, little hook window. The will doesn't have to get there. So there is no more RPO or run conflict, pass conflict on the will anymore. Okay? So, offensively, what we need to do now is we need to understand that if we're getting that kind of coverage and we know off of film or we know that they're more of a pattern match 3 deep, all right? What's known as rip Liz match through Coach Saban and a lot of other guys at the next level. If it's a matching pattern cover 3, well, now I got to put the guy that's in conflict, I got to try and affect his zone, right? So now I'm going to run the same RPO, but I'm going to run this guy on slant, okay? All right, I'm going to run that guy on slant, and maybe here I would run, all right, either I could mirror the slant, or I could run maybe the fin and bring him down inside. But I have to, if I'm going to conflict the will, I have to conflict his pass drop. So I have to hope that with that leverage, if they're in a pattern read, pattern match cover 3, that the will's pass drop is somewhere in there. So now if I'm going to read him, okay, all right, now I have to put a route in his area so that if he supports the run and fits it, the ball has to be thrown in the area he's responsible for if you want to have a true conflict on play. Okay? So again, if I now got 6 in a box, all right, I can only block 5 of them, so we would block, all right, we would lock on here, all right, we would double and climb to the mic, lock, and now the conflict is on the will. But I got to put a route behind his pass drop. So I got to know the coverages I'm getting, because if the defense has more than one coverage, they can change your RPOs. So defensively, they've gotten me out of the snag hitch world. I could probably still run it, maybe get away with it, but technically on paper, they can do a better job covering it. Now they've got me into the zone or veer with slant behind it. Okay? As long as I have that answer, okay, my answer now answers their answer. Okay? So then you say, okay, the next thing defensively is, well, I can't match all these things, so I got to go and play some type of man free. Okay? So I got to go ahead and lock that, play him as your high free player, okay? And now, all right, there is no more conflict on my 2 linebackers because they're both fitting off of where the back goes, and they're going to play the back in coverage. Okay? So now, defensively, you've taken away the RPO, in theory. Okay? Because even if the will fits, okay, you've got man-to-man on a slant. Now, in the real world, does that mean the RPO is gone? No, because if this dude is better than this dude, you still have the slant route. Okay? But on paper, and for me, you know, and sometimes this probably hurts me more than it helps me, but for me, I'm an X and O on paper guy. Okay, so I don't like to run dead plays. So if you're telling me it's man-free, I'm going to stay away from a lot of those RPOs if I know it's man-free, because on paper it's a dead play. My dude has to beat your dude to win. There's no space I'm taking advantage of. There's no conflict on the will. So there's really no RPO. The will can sit the run all he wants, and now when I throw it, my dude's got to beat your dude. I don't really like that style of football, although I know that a lot of plays are going to come down to that. All right, and at the end of the day, the team with better dudes wins a lot more games than the team with worse dudes. Okay? But in a coaching world where you feel like you can control a lot of these things, and again, I like to, when we're talking X's and O's, I like to think in terms of the field being equal. All right? We want to look at schemes that if everything was equal, these are the schemes that win games. Okay? So if these are equal, and I don't have my stud over their stud, or whatever the case may be, I don't really have an RPO anymore. Okay? I don't really have an RPO because there's no conflict on the will in pass-run responsibility. All right? The run-pass option stuff and the RPOs are really best when there's a conflict of run-pass. All right? Just like option football, where there's a conflict of assignment football somewhere where everybody's got to be exactly where they belong. Well, in the run-pass, all right, now you're taking option football to a whole nother level, because a second-level guy's got to be in 2 spots. A defensive end doesn't necessarily have to be in 2. He's got to figure out where to play to dive at the quarterback, and somebody behind him better match it accordingly. Well, the second-level guys have to be in 2 spots. Run pass. So now we're taking advantage of a guy who has to be in two different spots. That's where the conflict in the RPOs comes, right? Okay, so now you've answered my RPOs on defense. But guess what? Okay, guess what? I've now got you to live in this world. Okay? Now that I've got you to live in that world, I can attack that world. Whether it be screens, rubs, okay, picks, whatever the case may be. Now that you're in man, I've got you to live in the man world, and now I can attack the man world. Okay? Any of these runs, and again, especially high school football. If any of these guys are not in their gap, okay? Any of these guys are not in their gap. Somebody misses a tackle, okay? Somebody misses a tackle. QB run. All right, let's look at the big one. QB run essentially lets me use my tailback as a blocker. Okay? So if I add my tailback as a blocker, the offense now has 6 blockers. Okay? You're now living in a man world, so you can't ask the outside guys playing man-to-man to support the run. A lot of times their eyes won't even be there. They'll have man eyes, which means they're looking at their player. I now have 6 blockers. Okay? You have 6 defenders. Okay? You now have to ask your free safety to be a very aggressive alley player. Okay? Otherwise, this in football is known as hat for hat. Okay? And in the defensive world, you don't want to live in a world where it's hat for hat unless your dudes are way better than theirs. Because if it's hat for hat, that means my 6 can block your 6 and my ball carrier. All right? We always want an extra number on defense. On offense, we always want the number. 6 for 6 on offense, I feel pretty good. Okay? Now, again, Coach, somebody misses a block. If somebody misses an assignment, or your guy is better than my guy, okay? I just watched the other day in a playoff game, the Ravens are playing, and the 3 technique for the Ravens is a 3 technique I played 3 times in my high school career, coached against. All right, luckily didn't play them. If that 3 technique is playing on the Ravens, there's a good chance that no matter what I do, I'm not going to get him blocked unless I read him, okay? We're not talking about, guy for guy right now. What we're talking about is, on a board, my 6 versus your 6, that's not a great way to live in a defensive world. So now you've gotten the man world to take me out of the RPO world. Now that you're in the man world, you've opened yourself up to a whole other can of worms. Okay? So what we're talking about is the answer for answer, the chess match between offense and defense. Okay? And usually the guy with the marker wins last. All right? The guy with the marker wins last. So what do we have to do? Offense has to have other ways to attack. Defense has to have other coverages. Defenses have to disguise their coverage. Okay? Defenses have to disguise what they're trying to do. Okay? If you go in with one coverage and the other team is exploiting that coverage, if you don't have an answer, you're going to get beat by the same thing over and over again. It's called not having any bullets in your gun. Okay? So you go in there with one bullet, all right, and you've got nothing else in the chamber, you've got nothing else anywhere else. Once that bullet is out, all right, you're now empty. If that bullet doesn't hit the target, you have nothing else to go to. Okay? We're talking about having a full clip or a full magazine, so if the first bullet doesn't get it, I got another one, I got another one, I got another one. Now, how many can you carry in high school? Don't really know how many. That's up to you. But you got to have an answer, or at least know the weaknesses to your coverage, okay, to have an answer. If you're playing some type of zone, your answer may be man-free. Okay, that may be the answer. That'll take you out of certain things, but it's going to put you into some other things. So that's the great thing about both sides of the ball in football and what makes football such a great game to coach. It's a constant chess match of getting in and out, all right, and dictating different things. One of the other things that's going to add to the chess match now, you're going to see more and more offenses. They're going to start stacking and putting 2, and I know a lot of guys have already done it, okay, but just trending in bowl games and college games and things that I'm seeing, you're going to see more and more guys stacking 1 and 2. Okay? They're going to make 2 further to make the apex guy work further. All right? They're going to try and cloud who the reads are, who's the 1 and who's the 2, because a lot of your split field coverages, a lot of the coverages are based on reading off of 2. So now go back to the simple, all right? You go back to this diagram here, okay? And now our safeties are trying to determine with our corners what the coverage is based off of the release of number 2. Well, now who do we got to look at? All right, well, we got to treat the stack guy behind it as number 2. What if he just stands up? Is that a flat release? Does the corner trigger down? How far out do I walk the apex players? Okay, now we get the RPOs, and they can do it any number of ways. So now we get zone here, and now we've got, all right, we've got 1 on the wheel and 2 to the snag. Okay, we've got 1 to the snag, 2 to the wheel. All right, so we've got all kind of different ways to determine, all right, who's 1, who's 2, where we're doing, while still running the same theory on offense. So you're going to see more and more, and I know we'll be using it more, of guys stacked 1 on top of 2 just to kind of cloud things up for the defense a little bit. Okay, now, if we flip the script on the other side, all right, to me, for us, what I would feel like is our best answer, okay, what I would feel like, because of the way we play defense, I would feel like, for us, again, this is all a matter of opinion, all right, and this is just my opinion on how I like to play football and how we would play football, okay. Again, it comes down to getting your kids to be able to do it. That's why the off-season videos are great. I've never lost a game on a whiteboard, okay. All I'm doing is throwing out opinions on how we would play things. That has nothing to do with how you actually play them. So you got to be able to get better every day coaching. I'm always looking for new ways and talking to people of how to coach our schemes better. Terminology, teaching, segmented drills. I'm always looking for a better way to teach it because you don't win with a marker on the whiteboard. All right, for us, what we would do in the RPO world is we would try and set the 3 technique to the back if we could. Okay? Try and set the 3 technique to the back if we could. Yes, my nose is a 3 technique because I'm an old 3-4 guy and I set the nose with the end. All right, so that's, for me, in my head, that's the way to do it. I know that for most people that the nose is the 1, the tackle's the 3. I got a 1 and a 3, I'm going to set the 3 to the back. Okay? I'm going to set my down safety to the back. Okay? I'm going to try and keep the big bubble away from the back because that's the RPO side they'd really like to get to. Okay? All right? But if we were still in our base defense, all right, if I had it set, all right, this way in our base defense, what I think now is the side that the back is on with the B gap closed, okay, with the B gap closed, I don't have to fold as far with this player or as quickly, okay, I got to fold further, I'm sorry, but not as quick, so that now when they go to RPO, I can hang in the stick window a little bit longer, okay, because I don't have to fly into the B gap. So I feel like by putting the 3 technique there, we've got to be able to teach this kid to understand in the RPO world to hold it a little bit longer and kind of hang in that stick window longer and then go late inside. Okay? But offenses, all right, are very smart with what they're doing. So if they know you're going to set the technique to the back, what they'll do is they'll line the back up there, okay, and then they'll just shuffle or motion them over here. Okay, so they're still going to end up getting the back where they want them. So now we're back in the RPO conflict side. Okay, so what we would do is we would bring the will back in the box, put the mic back over in his normal alignment, all right, and we would make a lock call on the weak side, and we would go ahead and play this side, man-to-man, and we would still go overhead and play 2 read on this side. Now when the RPOs come, okay, they're going to come with block, 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 block. That's the conflict. He's not going to have any conflict. He's going to hammer the B gap right now. Okay? Now when you pull, you want to try and pull off of his pass responsibility, but off of his pass responsibility, I've got that man-to-man and I've got that man-to-man. So as far as the RPO is concerned, all right, for me on defense, that might be a way I handle the 2x2 RPO theory. All right, try and play lock coverage away from the free and the 3 technique to get us in a situation where if they're going to read the B-gap player, let's put him where he doesn't have a run-pass conflict. Let's get him up in there so if it's run, he can show up right now. Quarterback pulls and throws into man coverage. Okay, and I feel like for me that I've only dabbled in the man world on this side. I'm still got zone eyes and zone concepts over here to be able to keep the ball inside and in front. All right, but over here, okay, over here I've dabbled in the man world a little bit. All right, so what's the next thing you're going to get from the offense once they figure it out? With the back set here, now they're going to start bringing guys and going, all right, jet sweep, and they're going to start seeing how good you can rotate, how quick you can get there, because now if it's the man world, if he runs off and he runs off, and this guy's out here up on the wheel right now, all right, again, we get in that world where we start living in that hat for hat world, where they have enough to block us, all right, and they've got speed and guys going to the perimeter, and you've got guys that you're playing in man-to-man, tough world to live in to say, hey, you got all of him vertical, okay, but if they start running jet sweep, take a peek in there and see if you can play the jet sweep. That's not happening. So now you got to understand, that's where, all right, the chess match, that's why everybody loves it, that's why football coaches love what they do. It's the never-ending chess match of what you're doing. This would be one of my first 2x2 RPOs. This would be one of my first ways to handle it, okay? But I got to be smart with what I'm doing, because if the defense knows that that's how we handle it, next thing the defense is going to do, all right, the defense is going to come back, all right, and they're going to try and answer your RPOs, okay? So then the next thing that you've got to be able to do, all right, is you've got to be able to understand that maybe you want to play coverage to the side the back's on, all right? Depending on how quick, all right, he is able to trade or be able to motion. I don't know if you can get your free safety. If it's just a short motion and end zone, you're going to be stuck running that coverage, okay? So you've got to be able to have an answer to be able to talk to your kids and say, hey, look, when we get these motions, we want to play this, all right? But if the back is just short motioning and we can't change, we got to be able to play football, all right? And then we've got to dabble in between the two worlds to say, hey, every once in a while we got to be split field and make them go RPO. Every once in a while we got to take RPO and make them go jet sweep or perimeter, all right? And then you just have to do your homework, hope that your kids are taught well, hope that your kids play well and maybe their kids make some mistake. And then it's you versus the other guy calling the plays to say, hey, down and distance from this yard line and this hash mark, he's a big RPO guy. I want to put my kids in the RPO coverage. I think that can help. All right, run pass option. Hey, they love going jet to the field out of it from this hash mark. All right, so I'm going to play my percentages and I'm going to defend the field with the jet. I may get beat on something. All right, run pass options to the backside or something else. Okay, so you just have to understand, all right, that you've got to be smart with what you're doing. You have to have more than one answer on offense and defense. All right, you can't sit and just run the same run-pass option play and think that if the defense sits there, you're going to pull and just complete balls all day. The defense is going to change. When they change, you have to change. Okay, that's what makes football so great. That's what makes it, studying it, and especially this time of year with clinics and college visits and everything else. Every year, the guys from the 25-year-old to the 55-year-old are going somewhere to try and learn something, because the game is ever changing. Everybody wants another answer or a different answer. Plus, if you've been doing this a while, everybody knows what you do. So everybody knows how I like to play football on offense and defense. I've been playing a lot of the same coaches for 16 years. I need wrinkles. I need change-ups. Okay? This run-pass option is a huge wrinkle change-up in the last 4 to 5 years of the game of football. Okay? Or maybe 2 to 3 years. All right? So now the next thing is going to be defending it, and then the next thing is going to be the offense catching up to how they're defending it to take advantage. It's an ever-changing game. All right, it is every play has a call. It's one of the only sports you can get into where every single play has a call, all right, and a life of its own, where if you're not in the right call or you're not lined up right, you can get yourself killed in a hurry, okay? You go to a basketball game sometimes and you can see teams transition 3 times up the court and the coach never makes a call. Well, in football, every play ends with a whistle. Every next play starts with a call. So if you can't get your offense or your defense into the right call, coaching can get you hurt in football real quick. There's a lot of other sports where there's some guys that can just sit back and let their dudes go out and play. All right, football is not like that. Yeah, if your dudes are that good, you might be able to do that, but you can't play get-em ball or cat ball every single day if you're going to start playing some good people. Okay? So remember, it's the ultimate game for the ultimate chess match. I love it. I love the psychology of it. I love all the analytics of it. I love reading into all those things. The only problem is sometimes it hurts you. I've outcoached myself a couple times. All right, remember, you won't play well until you play fast. See you next time.